we truly value, we call it intellect and wit here at DORIS, but this idea of we know what we're doing, we're grounded in theory and research, and we could tell you all of the algorithms that are behind things, but ultimately it's about keeping it simple, right, and digestible to whoever our audience is. It's a double-edged sword because then it makes people think anybody can do it, right? I can just ask some questions in a survey and Qualtrics will give me the graphs, and then from there we can move on and say we did the engagement survey, we collected data, right? And that's when data becomes a commodity and you're not leveraging its full value. And so it's really interesting. Again, talking to a researcher here last week about thinking, we go all the way to the end and think about what's the data we need and what's the analysis we need to be able to do. And then we go to, well, then what's the method and the questions we need to ask, and what's the best way to then disseminate those questions or gather that data, and then who are the people we need to gather it from, and are our methods going to meet them where they're at, and are they able to answer in that way? So we're thinking of every single solitary step before we even show up at the door. And I think that's a big thing with research, is we're thinking about the end point and the beginning point and every step in between. It's kind of like design of experiment thought.
I think that's what's so important about design research, which is the type of research that we're doing, is that we care to design the research around the stakeholders we're trying to engage. So we're not trying to manipulate the data based on what we want the outcome to be. We're trying to manipulate the method in order to collect the data from the correct sample and meet the people where they are. That to me is a very tricky part about this type of research, and being able to collect different types of data, qualitative data, and a myriad of different types of methods, a whole host of different sources, and then we have to figure out how to put those pieces of data together and make sense.